Hi, we're going to do the Caesar cipher and the decimation cipher on Excel. So we want to see how this is done. I'm not going to show too much about the Caesar cipher or the decimation cipher. We're going to assume that you've learned that someplace. But then we're going to show you the steps that you're going to take to put it onto Excel. So on Excel, the things that we're going to do, we're going to, first of all, start with the equal sign. So some of you are not familiar with the Excel that much. Start with the equal sign. That will give us a formula. And so there's some canned formulas that we can go ahead and put in, or else you can just do regular algebra by adding cells together. What else we're going to use is fill down. Fill down is just going to be grabbing what I call the handlebar, and it will increment things that you're doing. We'll show you that. Then also you can use the dollar sign. If you use a formula and you try to fill down and you don't want things to increment, you're going to put a dollar sign before a letter or a number to freeze the cell during a fill down exercise. And then we're going to use VLOOKUP. I just recently got into these VLOOKUPs, and it will search a list until it finds what you ask, and then it will return an item next to it. This is done for only vertical lists, hence the V. We also have something called HLOOKUP, same as VLOOKUP, but we'll reference a horizontal list. So for a Caesar cipher, what happens is that we're going to take the alphabet that we know. So if we get a message in these letters, we're going to translate each one of them down to these letters. And so if the message starts with a D, it's going to translate to an A, then a K to an H, and so on. Notice that I just moved all the letters over by a certain increment. Well, what do we do with X, Y, Z? Well, those will wrap around and be back at the beginning here. And that's when we put these numbers associated with them. So X goes to a 0. So instead of going, which we're here at 25, the next one would be a 26. This is called modular arithmetic, and we're using mod 26. So the numbers for mod 26 are 0 to 25. And when we shift this over, X, Y, Z will shift over to 0, 1, 2. You don't need the numbers necessarily to do a Caesar cipher, but I'm going to do it because I just want to see, well, we're going to show you how it works, and it sets us up for decimation. That's why I'm doing it. So this accentuates it. When we wrap around with the numbers, this uses modular arithmetic to transform our numbers that are associated with each letter, and we are using mod 26. So here's my spreadsheet. Each one of these is a cell. This one is A1. If I click over here, this one would be F5. And so with each cell, we can take that number that is in there and treat it like a variable and multiply or do whatever we want with it. So that's how we're going to do this. So first of all, to set up, what I want to do is type in the alphabet. So there we go. I also want these numbers associated with each one of these letters. And then also down here, I have it written again because we got to translate, and we're going to translate back. Because any code that we want to encrypt, we also have to be able to decrypt it back. And then for over here, we want to put in a key. You really don't have a key for the cipher, but it's going to be how much we're going to shift. So say, for instance, I want to shift 5. When I shift 5, and I'll show you an example of using the formula bar, we want to also be able to shift back later. So I'm going to say equals negative, and then the cell that we're in is AB1. So I'm going to go AB1. I didn't need to do anything with that, except for actually make it AB2, because it's in the top second spot there. There we go. So then we get the -5 associated with it. And if you want to make this look nice, you can highlight all this. I've already done it. And you can go to this grid and just say, okay, I want to do all the borders. There it is. Also, I centered a lot of this stuff. And so if I want to center, I just push on that and then I get the center. This might not show up very well. Then you go, oh, that one's left. So that's justification. So let's start with some message that we want to encode. So I'm going to start with fun. Oh, and I want to put in a letter in each box. I'm going to go Fun Friday. I just got to remember to shift over each time. So there's Fun Friday. I want to take this and I want to encode it based upon shifting over by 5. That means that this A here actually is going to shift over to E. So that would be 1, did I do that right? 5 to F. So A would be here, B would be here, C would be here. There's probably easier ways to do this, but the spreadsheet sets up nicely for the other methods if we do this method. So I can highlight that and pick a nice color, a nice yellow. And that's the stuff that I want to enter into. Now the line below it is going to transfer it over to a number. So instead of me looking up one by one and transferring to a number, I'm going to take these letters, look them up, and then find out what's right below it and put it in. So if I go to F, it's going to look up 5, and look up F, and then right below it, it's going to put a 5 right here. Look up U, there's U, and it's going to put 20. It's going to put a 20 right there. That's going to be my lookup function. So I start with an equal, and since this is a horizontal list, I'm going to do H lookup. So I'm going to go H and type in lookup, and then there's my function. I can click on it. It will tell me what to do. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and look up a value, which is this cell right here. That's my first letter, and I'm going to put it right down here in A7. So I'm going to look up A6, and then I can put a comma, and then it says, okay, where are you going to get this from? So I'm going to just go ahead and highlight this table of values that I do have. Notice it goes from A1 to Z2. Okay, cool. I'm going to put dollar signs on that because I don't want that to change, and I want to copy and paste that later. So I'm going to put dollar signs before the A and before the Z. Hopefully you can see that well enough. And then I'm going to put another comma, and that's going to go ahead and ask for row index number. Well, notice that I have 2 rows here. Sometimes I want to pull information that's further down, row 3, 4, whatever, but this is just from row 2 that I'm going to be drawing from. This is row 1, row 2 that I've highlighted. So that's just row 2. And then you're going to finish off with false. False just means that it's going to be an exact number that I'm going to be looking up, not something that's approximate. So you're going to get errors if you put the word true. So I'm going to put false just to make sure. Let's see if we get a 5. Nice, we did get a 5. Now the nice part about the spreadsheet is that now I can grab this little handlebar. I have this highlighted. This little solid piece is just going to be able to drag right. When I drag right, I said U was 20. Yep, there it is. N was, where's my N? 13. Yep, it works. And notice that when I click over here, look at this thing incremented. This cell incremented to B6. That's what fill right does. But notice the A and the Z. Those did not increment. Okay? Those cells stayed the same for my representation because I put the dollar signs in there. At least I believe it did. Okay. So it helps out if you do leave those dollar signs. I meant use those dollar signs. Now what we want to do is use the shift in order to shift these. So all I'm going to do is go equal to this one right above. And I don't want to put dollar signs because I'm going to fill this right and get all these other ones. And then I'm going to go plus this number right here. Well, this number is always this particular cell. So yes, I want to put dollar sign before the AB and before the 2. Don't put it before the B because that's just signifying the cell AB. And so if I do that, that sure enough shifted it over. And so when I drag this right, fill right, make sure you grab that handlebar, then it added 5 to each one of these. Notice, what if I accidentally change this or change this to 6? Sure enough, it changes all those. Boom, slick. Okay, so now I have my coded things. Now I got to go back. Now notice I have this 29. That's more than the numbers that I do have there. I went over 26. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each one of these numbers and I'm going to do a mod. So there's the function mod. So I put an equal sign first. Then it tells me mod number. The number I want is right there. And then which mod do we want to use? Well, I'm going to use 26. And so and I'm not going to put any dollar signs because I'm going to fill right and deal with this. So that won't take care of the 10. 10 stays. All these numbers will stay except for look at what happens to 29. Oh, it did the wraparound for me. Nice. So now I'm going to go ahead and take these numbers and I'm going to look up the letter before there. I'm sorry, right after them. So let's do another lookup. So I'm going to do a H lookup. And there it is. So I can click on it. I'm going to look up a value. There's my value that I'm going to look up. And then I want to do a list. The list I'm going to do at row 2 and row 3. It's going to go off the page here for a little bit for me. So I'm going to put a Z in there. And I'm going to go put in a $sign, $sign. So here's a $sign. Here's a $sign in order to take that list. And then I'm going to go comma. The second row is where I'm going to draw my output from. And then I'm going to do the false thing again. I put a space there accidentally. I'm going to put a false there again. And voila. There's the 10 from the K. And I'm going to just take this and I'm going to find my encoded message. Sweet. Woo! There it is. And so I'm going to send this message to somebody and then they have to decode it in order to get Fun Friday. So I'm going to set this up exactly the same way, except for we're now going to use the -5 in order to decrypt it. Maybe you want to just go ahead and try that in order to figure that one out. So pause this and maybe go ahead and try to take this message and decrypt it. And just to show you that I have some problems here with my pasting, you can go up here to paste. I just want the values to be pasted. So those are the values I'm going to get. So look at that and see what you have. So I hope you challenge yourself to maybe work backwards with this to sort this out. If you couldn't get it, I can give you some of the formulas possibly. And there's the formulas that if you need them, and you can spread it out and go over. I'm going to call this the Caesar cipher. So I can do this tab and call it the Caesar. Now what's nice is that I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call this one now decimation. And so I'm going to make this my decimation cipher and I'm going to base it upon what I did here. So I'm going to copy all this, but be careful because when you paste, I'm going to paste with all of my formulas and everything that I do need. So I'm going to highlight the whole sheet and I'm going to copy. Then I'm going to go over to decimation and then I'm going to go paste. And hopefully it gives me an option. Oh yes, I want everything the same. So I'm going to keep the source formatting. Let's try that. And let's see if the formulas are there. Yep, all the formulas are there, so we wanted to keep that. If I want to adjust this width, I'm going to click on this box to highlight everything. And then if I squeeze one, it's going to squeeze out everything. So there's my new one. And then I can make it a little bit bigger so we can see it. Okay? So there's my new spreadsheet for decimation. Now decimation is different operations, so we're going to have to change this a little bit. So I'm going to take this 5, and this is going to be my key for that, and we're going to encrypt with an odd number, and just make sure it's not 13, and it's between 1 and 25. And so to decrypt, what we need is to undo what we did. Well, in the mod world, and we're going to be using mods, in the mod world, that's weird. And so what we're going to do is we're going to set up a situation where we do have a 0, a 1, a 2, and so on. We're going to take those numbers and see what happens when we multiply them. And really, I only need the odd numbers, but I'm going to do all of them, I guess. I changed my mind. I'm just going to do the odd numbers, and let's see if this fills out. So this goes up to 25, and I don't need the rest of those. And I need to take the 5, which I have up above, so I'm going to go equal to this cell. And I want this cell to be fixed because I'm going to fill it down, and I don't want it to change. So I got to put a $sign in both spots. Actually, I just need to put in one spot, but I'm going to put in both just for now. And then I'm going to fill down. And why I did that is because if I change my key, that's going to change all those numbers. And so now I want to multiply these two. And what we want to end up getting is the multiplicative inverse. And so when we deal with the mod is going to have to be 1 in order to be the multiplicative inverse to undo all this. So I'm going to go equals mod, this number, you can just click on the cell, times this number, and then I want it mod 26. I'm going to fill that down. 5 times 1 is 5. Next one should be 15. And then once we go past 26, though, it will start changing a little bit. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 7 is not 9. But in mod 6, it is. And what we're looking for is 5 times something that gives us a 1. There it is. And so we're going to have to try to call this one up. And so this would be the inverse of 5 in mod 26. So what we're going to do is a lookup. So up here we're going to do equals, now it's a vertical list, equals a v lookup in this column right here, but I can only go to the right to look up data. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to use the column next to it, even though it doesn't have anything. And I want to look up a 1. I did that in the wrong order. But I want to find a 1 in this list, and then I want to go ahead and look up in column 2 what comes right after it, and I want to do false again. So this is just a vertical list instead of a horizontal list. Now I don't have anything here, but I'm going to type in what these numbers are again. So I can just copy, well, let me hit enter on that, and I want to copy and hit this list. And since VLOOKUP just goes to the right, I'm going to paste that down. And so this is the multiplicative inverse that we do need. Okay, and so now we have these numbers. 1 is going to look up and find a 21 for me. That's what it did. If I change this to a 7, it's going to look up and find the 1 in this column. There it is, and that's going to return a 15 for me. Beautiful. So this is the encryption code or key, and this is the decryption key. Now we just need a couple changes in this spreadsheet to make this happen. So first of all, this is our position. This one, we're going to take our position and multiply it by our key. So this is going to be equal to this value, and I'm going to multiply it by, and I make sure that I put a $sign, and it's going to be my key here. So I'm just going to click on that cell. Hang on. It didn't like my $sign yet, so I'm going to click on here, and that would be right there. And now I can go ahead and put in my $sign because I want that cell to always be the same. So we're multiplying instead of adding by that key now. Then it changes all those numbers. I still want mod 26. Oh, this is good. I still want mod 26. I already have my translations down here. Here is my new message with a decimation cipher. Beautiful. But if we go down here, oh, it stole what we had before. So I got to take this thing right here, and I got to copy it, and I'm going to paste it here, but I'm going to paste special. I only want the values, so I'm going to paste the values. There it is. This is not going back to my original one. Well, because I got to decrypt this. So first of all, these numbers are okay. This is my position. And then I got to do position times the key, but it's the decryption key, not the encryption key. So I'm going to go equal to this cell right here and multiply by, we got it way over here again, this cell right here. I want to put $signs on that. So I'm going to put a $sign here and a $sign here. And voila, there we go. And so those are different numbers. And then what happens? Fun Friday works. Woohoo! That's the decimation cipher that you can go ahead and use. So if somebody sends you a message, you can type it in here. And obviously you can get rid of this stuff, and you can drag this stuff all over to the right. And you could even do A, B, C, D, just copy this and put it in here and just do the translations on paper however you wanted to. Or you can type the message in here. All right, so I hope that you enjoyed that. I am going to put a Z in there for fun at the end. Z translates to T. Woo, all of this. Okay, that's your decimation cipher on the spreadsheet. Okay, I think we covered what we wanted to cover. Decimation and the Caesar cipher. That's what we had. Thanks. Have a great day.